Oh, hey, welcome back to Time Travel Comics. It's always a joy grabbing your Sunday paper and the funny section just to read your favorite comic strip. And there were so many. Peanuts with Charlie Brown and Snoopy, whether it was Dick Tracy, Beetle Bailey, The Far Side, Calvin and Hobbes. There are just so many great comic strips to read, and they were a present every Sunday. We always can share great memories of asking our parents for the funnies or maybe wrestling our siblings just to get a hold of our favorite comics. And boy, do I have many great memories. In this episode, we're going to travel in time using my trusty time machine to explore the funnies from different decades. And it's going to be great just seeing what type of comics were out there, the colors, the styles, the pictures. And Sunday Comics has been a part of American culture for years. Also, on our journey through time, we will explore the transition of the funnies in the newspaper into the actual comic book. Dell put out a series called Super Comics that also has Dick Tracy, Orphan Annie, and a number of comics that was eventually in the pamphlet book that we know today. So if you stick around, because we have a lot to go through. All right, everybody, let's start our time traveling journey. I have my machine ready and my token. We're going to see what we can get, and off to it. And here we are in 1995. This is a Chicago Tribune Sunday Funny page. I always enjoyed Bound and Gagged and Brenda Starr, and of course Calvin and Hobbes. And I saved these. I actually kept them in plastic bags to prevent them from getting yellow and so that I could read and revisit. And this is truly a time capsule because these were issued every Sunday and most people recycled them or disposed of them right after. But I just really enjoyed a lot of them, and I kept as many as I could just to kind of catalog and enjoy later. So I have before me 4 Sunday pages in a row, and I kept these in little Ziploc bags together, as you can see here, from the Chicago Tribune. They all had Charlie Brown and the Peanuts in front, done by Charles Schulz, one of the more famous, and there it is on the front page, followed by Dick Tracy, and also the Crime Stoppers textbook that you could remove and put into a little binder just to keep all those tips and tricks together. Terry and the Pirates, that's actually a long-running comic that spans decades, and this is a more modern rendition here in 1995. And the right there we could see December 31st, right before the new year. Just love the colors. You could see comics right in front. And what was the joy with these, there were also different activity parts to it as well, where you can draw or look through, like Where's Waldo in the pages. So just as you took apart the Sunday Funnies, you can grab and take a part that you really enjoy. So most of them by this time were about 4 or 5 per page. As we travel further in time later, we'll see how the divisions and arrangements of comics were. Blondie was up and down right here in a more vertical fashion, whereas the others are more horizontal in fitting into different sections. There was some competition back in the day in the 90s and 80s to see who would be in the Sunday Funnies, and there was some cancellations, and sometimes you would see will be discontinued or coming soon. And always a dynamic arena for comics was the Sunday paper. Beetle Bailey, classic one, right there about Army life and gags by Mort Walker. The Buckets about family life and parenting, as well as Baby Blues, so they're right next to each other, by Rick Kirkman and Jerry Scott. Baby Blues is still around today and is still fun, and some reruns and reprints. Dave, there was kind of one there, limited run. And who can forget Hagar the Horrible? Dick Brown drew this one. Hagar has been around since long as I could remember, always trying to pillage and fight in the Viking way, while his wife offers the voice of reason and kind of is the comedic backdrop. So these Sunday papers, are just fun and a treasure for me to hold on to because they are, like I said, a time capsule. This one's from the fall or September of 1995. You can see here we're again greeted by Charlie Brown, Sally, and of course Snoopy. And the colors just leap off the page. Shoe by Jeff McNelly. At the time, I didn't really understand the comedy. It was a little bit advanced for me, maybe for the adults out there, as I was still a kid. But nonetheless, I just enjoyed that artwork. And Jeff McNelly is a very famous American political cartoonist. And there we go as we get ready for school every morning, Calvin and Hobbes. And just look at the creativity that Bill Watterson used, creating these artistic panels, the detail, dragging everything out of the house. And it just, everybody can relate to that. So always their favorites were in there. Mr. Bofo was there by Joe Martin and his Wonder Dog Wiederman. So I'm sure everybody watching can probably remember some of the comics that they jumped to right away. If you do remember, please leave in the comments below, and maybe we could relate. The adorable Fred Bassett, always in a thinking bubble as he talks to his master. And some newer comics made their debut in the mid-90s, Rhymes with Orange. So we have a mix of the old and the new. Kathy. So the funnies are just always remarkable, tried and true. They were loyal to us comic readers as we waited for them every Sunday. And during the week, it was kind of a tease because you'd just see a little strip. But during the Sunday paper, they really blew up in full color. And that's when the magic of comics came alive. Here in Chicagoland, we had spots, and this is an activity page where you can cut out and glue and create some projects. This one looks like an airplane with a flying beaver, asking questions to Ask Spot, and of course, some jokes. So how can you prevent the kid napping? Wake him. Not the sharpest jokes, but nonetheless, they were cheesy, funny, kind of one to exchange for gags. But this was the experience of our Sunday paper. Just a couple more in the mix that I've saved, and I actually sealed them in a Ziploc bag just to prevent them from deteriorating and getting really old. And again, we're greeted by the same comics that we saw. Peanuts, Dick Tracy, Terry and the Pirates. By this time, it used to be Brenda Starr. They would frequently swap out the different comics. Shoe. And let's see what Spots was in this episode. This page, this was, a maze. Look at that sandwich. Kind of don't bite off more than you can chew. Just kind of looking, and I guess it looks like more of a maze, but look at the artwork. That's original art in of itself. Kind of a wheel to turn and spin to see where it decodes and gives a certain secret code that you could see there. So these activity pages were all the rage. Something that's unfortunately lacking in our current comic and funny pages. So just wanted to peruse those before we dig deeper full into the past. Just more wonderful pages of the Sunday Funnies. Oh, look at that, a hamburger, another food item there, and another activity. It kept kids entertained, it kept me entertained every Sunday. I wanted to show you a quick article that I saved from the Chicago Tribune. It's a flashback to the history of the funny pages, and depicts the different pages from back in the day. The one on the left is from July of 1939. Later on in the bottom, it's from 1942. So you could see the evolution of the Chicago Tribune's funny section. As unfortunately the years go by, the funnies seem to be getting more narrow, saving paper, so they're not as big as they were, not as many pages. At one point, there were about 7 pages, then 4 or 5 pages. Now they're actually just a single page front and back, and the size is almost like it is now compared to what it was. You can see the differences in width. So unfortunately, the funnies have been dwindling and getting smaller. But this is where comics began for me, just reading the Sunday Funnies and eventually catching up on characters before making their way into the comic book form. Just wanted to show you that treat. And now we'll check our dial for our time machine and go on to the next one. So we just saw in 1995 Dick Tracy appearing in the Chicago Tribune in a more modern portrayal. We have now a special treat of Dick Tracy from January 1st, 1939. The headline reads Sunday News, New York's picture newspaper. And you can see a vintage camera right there and 5 cents comic section. So decades before, Dick Tracy was in the newspaper. It was illustrated by Chester Gould, and this is a beautiful page. The entire front page is dedicated to the comic. You can see panel by panel in a square arrangement that sequence of storytelling with the driver in the taxi cab, Dick Tracy speaking to the young one. It kind of allows the reader who might have been young at the time to relate to more of the adult character because there's a younger counterpart in the comic. So just wonderful artwork. Kind of see that illustrative line work and full page right here. And the date is on the bottom, January 1st, 1939. World War II era America in the comics. On the back page, there's also a couple more, which cut off right in top. You can see right there some of the illustration, gag and goofy. Little truck zipping off there. Kind of finds himself on his back. Spooky, not the Spooky, the ghost that we know. Fenwick Fluky. Some alliterations and play on words, and just look at the gag there. It's midnight, time to celebrate, keeping in mind that this was a New Year's edition paper, kind of keeping up with the happenings at the time of celebrating New Year's. You could see him getting carried away and accidentally whacking his own cat, kind of running around there. So just a wonderful example of the Sunday Funnies back in the day. Just wanted to show you that. Kind of keep it protected in my backer board and bag here, as we can see the parallels of Dick Tracy then and Dick Tracy now. And now our time machine has taken us to 1944 with this next comic, Barney Baxter, In the Air. This is a example of another Sunday comic, a full page dedication to a single comic. And we're introduced to some Japanese fighter Zero crashing into the water right alongside a naval boat. And you can kind of see what's happening there. More of a realistic character and a more cartoony character. Barney Baxter. This is by Frank Miller. Not the Frank Miller that we know from some of the modern era action, like Ronin, for example, but this is from the syndicate of King Syndicate, featured in this unnamed newspaper. Just wanted to show you the artwork there, the detail. I really love the bottom border as it shares a kid reading the funnies with his pet dog, kids rushing to pull apart the comic section, black and white ink, and again, the boy reading the comics. So those little details make for a nice touch. And the comic itself, especially these two frames at the beginning, is just filled with action, and you see the crash and boom and just the detail on that fighter jet. Really fun. The back page exhibits two more. So by 1944, we're starting to see sections and pieces of the funnies, a couple stories per page. This is Elmer right there, kind of a cartoon, a young boy and an older man, maybe grandpa. And again, it's from 1944, King Features Syndicate. It's probably distributed more than 500 newspapers back in the day. In the top one, we see Alexander Smart, Esquire, Daffy Doodles. Truly great. 1944. Now we're going to fast forward in time. Best Comics in the World, Sunday Mirror. That's a New York publication. And we're in November 11th, 1951. And of course, Sunday. And Al Caps, Lil Abner, very popular. It's a gorilla man and a reporter. Looks like a little romance, love story. Escaping with a beast. You get married. Oh boy. A lot of action going on, a lot of goofy action. All for 15 cents. So we've upped the charge from 5 cents to now 15 cents for this Sunday paper. It has all the pages intact. There's obviously some wear and tear there. Steve Canyon by Milton Caniff. So you can see how the men and women were drawn, kind of that Hollywood noir type look, the black and white contrast. Oh, there's a smooch right there. So Steve Cannon gets a full page there. Then we're getting into Mickey Finn by Link Leonard, one that I'm not familiar with, but a lot of these comics came and went. These Sunday comics are in the Daily Mirror. They include Steve Canyon, Lil Abner, the boxer Joe Palooka, Kerry Drake, Henry, Mickey Finn, and Rex Morgan, MD. Follow your favorites every day. And we will. Kerry Drake, Alfred Andriola. So these comics are not in the comic book per se, but they are in the newspaper. And behold, a 1951 Superman, Wayne Boring, also worked on Batman. See Batman there, an armored vehicle right there. Just great to see Batman. Dedicated full page to Batman right there. Really neat. As we turn the page, let's see what other goodies we have. Henry, Carl Anderson. Simple design, kind of playful, kid-like. Not a lot of captions. Dixie Dugan by McAvoy and Stribel. Maybe Stribble. Kind of a little bit of a little Lulu resemblance, maybe not. So the pages keep on turning. There's a lot of comics. Louis, a giveaway prize in 1951 for a Westinghouse Rain Soft Brinso. I think this is a washing machine. Looks like it, putting the clothes in there. I know the captain always enjoys the advertisements. That's an interesting one there. He's excited. You can win that. Rex Morgan, another syndicated comic strip. Captain Easy. See, look at the car there. That's amazing. That Chevelle or maybe a Chevrolet. Just to see that. Alley-oop. Alley Oop is one of the longer running comics in history. The longest running comic strip is from 1897 to 2006. It's for 109 years, was Cats and Jammer Kids. Cats and Jammer Kids had a long debut and appearing in over 300 newspapers. The second most common cartoon strip was Gasoline Alley from 1918 to the present. Dick Tracy, who we just saw, was featured in 1931 and is the seventh longest running cartoon in the newspapers that is syndicated. From Cats and Jammer Kid to Gasoline Alley, Orphan Annie makes the list. Dick Tracy at number 7. You see here some dishwashing detergent. So we've already counted quite a few pages of the funnies, so you can see how many were around. Freckles and Friends, New and Improved Fab, No Bleaching, Air Drying Closed Air, Out of Our Way, Our Boarding House. So there's another page left, and that's Joe Palooka. He has the back cover of the Sunday Mirror, and it's all dedicated to him. Joe Palooka by Ham Fisher. It's a lot of detail in the artwork. Look at the table settings, the lamp, the dancing, the jazz ensemble, the dancing. What's there not to love? I mean, just a great show of artwork. There's Joe Palooka himself, the boxer. And that was the Sunday Mirror, 1951. At the turn of the century in the 1920s, the Sunday Funnies have become popular. A lot of families would look forward to the Sunday paper to read the comics. That eventually comic publishers took notice and started producing comic books with bound stories and characters. Of particular note is Famous Funnies. Another one is New Funnies that I have right here, the title by Walter Lantz, and they're featured in Dell, so you can see some of the work there in the title, and we'll explore as well. But I want to go more over to Super Comics. Super Comics was also published by Dell, and it featured Dick Tracy and more so the newspaper characters that we saw. And this is issue number 78 that came out in 1944. Also includes Smitty, office boy that works, and there's his boss. So just like the newspaper we just saw, you have pages where on one side you have another story and on the other a new one. Even the front in Dell fashion, the 4-color series later does it. They have it in the front cover before the first paper page. So Dick Tracy again in a new format. Just wanted to show you the adaptation of the comic book form. This is still during World War II era in 1944. Another Super Comics issue number 80, January of 1945. Again, another Smitty panel on the art. Cover art also includes Dick Tracy, Tiny Tim, Harold Teen, and Winnie Winkle. Some cartoons that I don't really know wholeheartedly, but I do enjoy reading a few of them as the stories make sense and create some entertainment. So again, kind of in the same vein of the Sunday Funnies, we're starting to see comic books being published and publishing those particular issues. I really love this one right here. This is Super Comics issue number 90 from November of 1945. And we have Dick Tracy apprehending a criminal on the front cover. And unlike the last one here, where you see the panel, it's up and down. You can see the different stories that are going to be featured. So if you're browsing at the drugstore at the time or the grocery store, you could take a glimpse to know which one of your favorite characters would be in the book. A lot of different artists in here, a lot of variety. And this is exactly what it is. It's a variety magazine of the different comics. Even the back cover has its own, the ripples. 10 cents of joy. A lot of pages of comics. Another wonderful cover is this issue here from March of 1946, and this is number 94. And look at the action. The car just barely missing the train as it breaks through the barrier signal. Orphan Annie, Smitty again. Later on, we actually see Brenda Starr, but this is another copy of some of the great artwork there. Issue number 94, Dick Tracy with a sharp chin. Some more artwork there. Drinking a root beer on the top. Silliness, shenanigans. Super Comics. Now it's featuring Dick Tracy. From the last one, we didn't see that, but now kind of bringing in a household name. Much like Superman was featured in Action Comics, this is Super Comics. And Action Comics later featured Superman, and it even read now in this issue and every issue Superman. So this kind of came around at the same time as Action Comics did, and was probably right next to it in the on the comics rack. And this is issue number 99 of August of 1946. You can see Dick Tracy kind of rescuing somebody, the police kind of probably checking in if everything's okay. Just great to see that. This is September 1946. This is issue 100. Another Dick Tracy featuring him on the cover. A lot of action there. See the yellow coat. So you're always going to have a Dick Tracy story and other ones in there. Actually, Dick Tracy's feature was a few pages because the others might have had 1 or 2 pages. He had a full spread, as you can see here, going on to about 10 pages before the next story begins. Right here, Sweeney and Son, that's the next story. But really cool. A lot of detail in the art, frame by frame. This can keep you entertained for hours. So forget Netflix or YouTube. Although I enjoy YouTube, you can read a comic book, no batteries included, and just a lot of stories. Another great cover coming at you is issue 100, Super Comics, and you see Dick Tracy scaling the side of a building. You could almost call him Batman, because we've seen a lot of covers with Batman doing the same thing. And just great artwork. Again, the Dick Tracy is the first story in the bunch, including a written story here as well. We also have issue right over here. This is issue 103, December of 1946, rescuing from a burning building. We have 101, 103. So the gaining popularity. It was regularly published Dell comic book, as you could see, 10 cents. It's just great to see the action. On the next book could have been Action Comics. It could have been Detective Comics. This is Super Comics. Golden Age books right here. A little worn, more than gently used. Just wanted to show you those and the transition from the newspaper to the comic book. Thank you for watching, everyone, as we travel decade by decade from the late 30s to the 40s and 50s to explore the Sunday comic pages. And it's a treat to see the different varieties of comics, different syndicated strips, and how they eventually made their way into the comic book format. So thank you for watching, everyone, again. And until next time, we'll set out to travel some more.